Hi, my name is Stu Bailey. I'm the co-founder and chief enterprise AI architect at ModelOp. I'm just so excited to be here at this conference, talking to you about what we at ModelOp have done for insurance companies in unlocking the value of artificial intelligence, really supporting your organizations and your journey on enterprise AI impacting your specific insurance needs. Just a little bit of a clarification about that. We are not an insurtech company. You're going to hear in this conference from, I'm sure, from a lot of insurtech companies. We are an enterprise AI company that is servicing the large insurance space. We also have a lot of customers in the financial services industry, which candidly is a little ahead of insurance in terms of the adoption of enterprise AI as a corporate strategy, but also manufacturing and telecommunications. So we are a horizontally focused enterprise AI company where insurance is a very important vertical to us. And I'll talk to you about specifically what we've done for insurance companies. So first of all, let's just talk about the enterprise AI journey for insurance in general. What are the benefits? What are the kind of reasons that maybe insurance is behind some other industries like financial services? If you look at this slide, it has the kind of clear benefits, things like operational efficiency, top line growth, competitive advantage. I mean, these are the reasons all large enterprises are investing in enterprise AI in general. But if you look at the quote from Gartner, this is a 2021 survey. So this is not, only 31% of insurance companies have already deployed some kind of AI or ML, machine learning type technology. So why? Why is insurance behind, say, other financial services organizations like banking, for example? Well, there's actually a pattern that we've seen across various industries. The first is really very rational. The investment has been on data science, the different ways to build new models on historical piles of data using the algorithms coming out of exciting places like Silicon Valley, being used in other uses like, your Ubers and your Facebooks, like placement and recommendations. But many of those are very general machine learning technologies that obviously have a tremendous potential for impacting pricing and underwriting, fraud detection, all sorts of things that are absolutely relevant to insurance. So it takes a while for a large organization and even a whole industry like insurance to adopt these new model building techniques. And so this focus on data science makes sense. You have to do that first. Because of that, operationalization really hasn't been a priority. Simply said, there aren't that many, enterprise AI models to be deployed, and that is, again, changes over time. But the increase of government scrutiny, the kind of increase in regulation means that there's more pressure on the organization to get it right when they do operationalize. This creates a kind of a vice, right? Which is, the investments are starting to mature in data science, but we really haven't invested in operationalization and the regulatory pressure is increasing. So when we do, we have to get it right. So we better study that and make sure it's all working. And so this creates a kind of paralysis that we've seen in other industries, but seems acute in some ways in insurance. And so, these are the types of challenges that we at ModelOp as an enterprise AI company focused on operationalization and risk mitigation and helping deal with regulatory pressure. This is where we've been focused. So let's talk about specifically insurance. What are the types of problems that are ripe for innovation in enterprise AI, right? And really can take the benefits that I just mentioned and create a competitive advantage, really drive operational efficiency and really drive growth. Where is enterprise AI enabling insurance specifically in our experience. So these are three, and there are more. Like every industry, enterprise AI appears to be the most potentially transformative enterprise investment in the history of the companies, because we're talking about how decisions are actually made at every level. But specifically right now in insurance, these are three that we have a lot of exposure to: straight through claims processing, underwriters workbench, like how to make that process much more efficient and drive a much better competitive advantage around that. And then automated quoting, which can go directly to top line growth, for example. So these are three that we have very, very intimate experience with. But as you know, there are more. And that's really the takeaway for you. Enterprise AI potentially impacts every line of business in your organization, including yours, even if you don't see it here on the screen. So specifically, I just want to talk about some of our customer. We've been doing this for a long time. ModelOp has been around for over 5 years, serving, again, the large enterprise in financial services and insurance, manufacturing, telecommunications. And we're at the place of maturity where our customers are starting to talk publicly about their experience with us, which really allows you to start to understand how a solution can impact the business. So, for example, we recently had a joint case study published with QBE Insurance, one of our more strategic customers. And this was specifically around straight through claim processing. So if you there's a very high level, I'm happy to talk more in detail with you. But you can see a couple of things. One is, who cared about this? In this case, Dan Moore, the chief operating officer. And we'll talk about this a little bit later in my presentation. Who owns ModelOps? Who's the partner that if you own a line of business or involved in a line of business, insurance needs to go to? And so in general, ModelOps is an enterprise capability. In this use case, we started with straight through claims processing, where there's just which claims can be actually fully automated and which have to have some sort of human intervention. And ModelOp Center, our solution, seamlessly connected with the current straight-through claims, this current claims processing engine, and allowed for the vision for enterprise AI-enabled straight-through claims processing to be realized very quickly within the organization. So that translates specifically to 20% reduction in operating costs for claims processing and a 50% reduction in the time it takes to get claims processed. ModelOp Center's value comes from integrating with the current system, so capture the value of the AI models much faster, providing visibility into the impact of spending time and energy on the data science required for the models that support straight-through claims processing, ensure that while we're automating this process, there's nothing that we completely continue to adhere to any governance policies, and of course, reduce the long time costs. So all of these are benefits that are very tangible. And again, I'd invite you to talk to us more about our experience with QBE, or talk to QBE themselves about their experience with ModelOp Center. So I just want to again, focused on the value of our solution, ModelOp Center, to the enterprise AI journey, specifically focused on insurance. But we're, again, as I mentioned at the top, we're not an insurtech company. So if you are owning a line of business or involved in a line of business within insurance, and you have an intuitive or concrete notion that enterprise AI, building of newer models, machine learning models, or other models, and plumbing them into an automated framework for decisioning to drive efficiency or top line growth, if you have an intuitive sense that, yes, the potential is there, but there are some challenges getting models deployed, getting the organization aligned to the enterprise AI journey. ModelOps is a concept that can help you by finding the partners at the enterprise level, usually enterprise technology and enterprise operations that need to be made enterprise AI aware, model aware, and allow your artificial intelligence project to get deployed faster, see more immediate returns, and have the visibility you need at the enterprise level. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about ModelOps in general. This is as much for your education as for you to see what you would help think about what partners you would bring into such a conversation if you have a motivating example that needs to be accelerated with enterprise AI. So first is ModelOps as a general capability is an enterprise service. My guess is if you're having trouble getting your AI initiatives deployed, your organization does not have an enterprise ModelOps capability. And that's really the challenge that we at ModelOp are here to address. On the right is us kind of understanding that ModelOps is separate and distinct from data science. In mature AI organizations, data science is a relatively mature capability, and it builds models that are important for the business units and the various problems like straight-through claims processing or underwriting. But the ModelOps capability is an enterprise capability that encompasses things like governance and risk, as well as all the operational complexity of models, and certainly drives toward enterprise visibility models. So just the understanding that ModelOps is not data science, they're necessarily separate and distinct, is an important kind of first understanding for a large organization getting ready to accelerate their enterprise AI journeys. So this is a kind of a busy slide, so I'll try to walk through it briefly, but hopefully it'll give you the sense of where in a mature organization, if you look at where our customers are today after having invested in ModelOps Center and really deploying a ModelOps capability over the last few years, this kind of reflects a more mature state. On the left are the data science investments that support specific business problems like straight-through claims processing, like pricing, fraud detection. In financial services, you can imagine, who gets a loan, what are the credit lines? So there's always data science functions on the left using a variety of techniques and tools, analyzing historical piles of data and creating meaningful models, which are predictive and prepared to make decisions, important decisions, which otherwise would have been more human-driven. And that's like sometimes people ask, well, how is AI different from what we're doing now? We make models, we've had SaaS for 30 years, we have analysts for 30 years, we have actuarials. The real difference is in the past for model-aware industry verticals like financial services and insurance, the models are really there to support human decisioning. In enterprise AI, the models become the decision makers. And there are a lot of, as you know, new techniques for building models based on large historical piles of data. But there are still all the other types of models, are very relevant. And there are many models outside of the machine learning style as well in the enterprise AI journey. So even decision tables, certainly natural language processing, many other types of models are important. So for ModelOps, it's a comprehensive notion of model, not just machine learning, but of course the data science investments are really driving a lot of machine learning models today. So that's what's coming out of the left. On the bottom of the slide are current enterprise services, which you, if you're an owner of a line of business, might not even be that aware of. And so again, this is who is the partner to bring in when you think about accelerating your enterprise AI journey. Everything from data ops to DevOps, those are both, obviously analytic functions in data, but DevOps in the software delivery function, to visualization and business intelligence and tracking, risk services, IT services. These are all services that are important. Why? Because modern AI models in the enterprise AI journey are technical enough, carry enough business risk, have been expensive to develop and require business visibility, that they need to interact with those. Any given model in the modern kind of enterprise AI journey has to interact with those services on the bottom. And on the right, of course, are the consuming applications and lines of businesses that consume the results of these models, often called scoring or inferencing, based on production data, and are really now becoming automated processes like claims processing. And so all of the model-centric functions in the center is what ModelOps are. This is all of the things the rest of the enterprise, not the data science function, has to understand about models in production to make them effective and drive an effective return. So ModelOps Center is a centralized piece of software with a centralized services around it, folks like model operators and chief enterprise architects that tend to report to enterprise technology organizations, often run by risk or the CIO, depending on your organization. And again, this is a mature state. What we've found in very large organizations, including insurance companies, like I mentioned before, is that this journey can start in a very incremental way, defining the leading applications that are taking the advantage of data science investments on the left and are really driving business value on the right, but have challenges with complexity and model awareness from the rest of the organization and require from the top down visibility of these models because they come from very expensive investments on the left in data science. That's a great place to start the journey. And of course, you have to find who is the enterprise technology partner that can help drive that journey forward. That would be an action item if any of this resonates for you from this presentation. And so I'll just show when we take a business problem like straight through claims processing and work with an enterprise technology leader in terms of understanding the value. These are some of the values. I'm not going to clear this slide in excruciating detail, but quickly, data scientists should be able to use the data science workbenches that they want to use. We've seen so many different models that are small data models, again, that really are quite straightforward. Some are very complex, deep learning, whatever. Those all require different types of technologies and workbenches, different ways of interfacing with data. On the left, data scientists should be able to do what they want because ModelOps, the other three really main value of ModelOps, is separate and distinct from data science. And then once the models are actually making an impact in the organization, we clearly have to monitor and govern them. That whole process and journey through the enterprise, which can be very complex, needs to be automated because this is just the beginning of enterprise AI. These kinds of journeys are only going to increase. And so how do we scale and govern enterprise AI initiatives over time? And a nice benefit for insurance is it's not the most mature in terms of enterprise AI. So we actually, in 2021, this conference in the fall, ModelOps Center is quite a mature industrial strength enterprise scale solution. So this is a really great time for an organization to start getting the maximum value out of their data science initiatives with ModelOps Center. And so I'll kind of just end with this. I mean, ModelOps, again, this is not an InsurTech slide or ending, and just to say it out loud. This is, hey, let's get the enterprise technology group in your organization increase their awareness about how they can alleviate any pain around getting AI initiatives deployed faster, driving more value, getting more visibility in the organization so that there's a very rational justification for increased investment in enterprise AI initiatives to make the organization more competitive. And so, when ModelOps Center is deployed at the enterprise level in your organization, these are the kinds of straightforward questions that can be answered with really the click of a button. How many models are in production? How are they performing with respect to business and data science metrics? Have they gone through all the regulatory compliance? And this would even include models that are used in third-party insurtech solutions that you may be considering and evaluating. At the enterprise level, you need to have visibility into all of those models, whether you've built them yourself within the organization or whether you're implicitly buying them through the purchase of an insurtech solution, for example. So ModelOps Center and a ModelOps capability gives you that enterprise-wide 360-degree view and visibility and governance and auditability of every model that is making a decision in the organization today and going forward. So absolutely a critical foundation for the organization's investment in enterprise AI. Thank you so much. Again, I encourage you to learn more about ModelOps. Bring your enterprise technology partner to discussions with ModelOps about ModelOps Center and the general capability. And we look forward to continuing to increase our investment in supporting the insurance industry going forward.